One person who has been particularly moved by the death of Daniel Beardy is recording artist Yvonne St. Germaine, whom you saw singing in that report. And Yvonne's latest CD was dedicated in memory of Daniel. She's from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and is a four-time Aboriginal People's Choice Award winner. And she also won a 2010 Gospel Music Association Award. And Yvonne joins us now in the studio. Welcome, Yvonne.
Good morning. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming. Tell us the story behind this CD project that was dedicated in memory of Daniel.
Well, it started with Mr. Beardy. I met him in Sachigo, Ontario. I was actually a guest speaker there at the time, and he was sitting at the back. And I remember he called me outside of the church and he had asked me, he said, I'm recording an album. And that's when he shared with me a bit about his son's, the loss of his son, and asked if I'd be interested in being part of that. And I was just honored right there. And he took my albums back to his wife, Nellie, and I got a phone call and I was asked to do the whole album. So I was just thanking God so much, you know, what an honor, you know. And
so every song on this album was actually sung at the funeral service.
That's right. Stan and Nellie had sent me the list of the songs, and they said they were all sung at his funeral. So the song Land of the Living, which I'll do today, was one of the top three that was very important to them. And I think the most, I've had such an impact with this album. You know, how do you become so involved? You know, I've never experienced the loss of a child. So it took many fasting and praying, and just to go in and try and to even go to that feeling that a mother, I'm sure, never wants to feel, or a parent. But I did the best I could through prayer, and the biggest impact I had was going to their house and actually standing in Daniel's room. I just broke. Everything just come together, and I'm a fan of blue roses, and Daniel's cross was just full of blue roses. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Wow. Now, you know, the kind of violence and things happening with young people in Native communities is widespread. And what is the hope that is really needed in those communities?
Well, for that I speak on experience. I travel through many resorts. The Lord's really been using me to go in and minister through testimony through a lot of Aboriginal communities. And it's such a high risk that the gangs, you know, and these communities are small. And if you have a gang already, you know, of course, my message is Jesus Christ. Because of myself, I was a rebellious teen. I didn't want to listen. I didn't, I'd B&Es, you know, stuff like that. Just acting out, attention. Family breaking up, you know, and it was just a cry out in my heart. If I act it out, you know, maybe I'll get attention. I'm cool, you know, with that kind of an attitude. But when it got to the point for myself, coming to my own salvation, it took me being a rock bottom crack addict. It took me being an alcoholic. It took me abusing prescription pills. And there was nothing left to me. And when I cried out to God, and he heard my cry, and he reached down his hand and held me on my shoulder and set me free instantly.
So there was, where did that happen? What setting did this happen? I want to dig deeper into this.
Well, I was home alone that day, and it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and this image is actually forming in front of me. Demonic things started happening in my home. And seeing this, I knew that I was in deep trouble. And I moved out 3 days later just to move on. I ended up at a pilgrimage called Lake St. Anne, Alberta. And I sat under this shrine crying and crying out to God for about 6 hours, the shame and the guilt, and knowing that I needed help. As if this wasn't going to do it, I knew I was just dead. And I cried out, and the prayer team came, laid hands on me. And it was like a slithering snake had forced out of me. And I fell to my knees. And I remember the feet of that prayer team walking away. I was on the ground, and I just kept saying, no, no. And I stood up and I actually yelled out to God, and I said, there's got to be more. And with that cry, he set me free. And
Yvonne, I know there are a lot of First Nations people watching right now. They are in communities. They watch 100 Huntley Street in the far north and all over by satellite. Maybe there's someone just in that hopeless situation right now, and you could give them that glimmer of hope that, you know, God did in your life. What would you say?
I would say that we're so easy to try everything once. You know, we're so fast to try a new drink. We're so fast to try a new way to ease our pain. And I just want to encourage you today, just reach out to the Lord. It is so simple, just to cry from your heart and accept Him as your Lord and Savior into your heart. Try Jesus is what I'm telling you. I know from experience that what He did for me, He wants to do for you. And I know the pain is deep. I've been there and I understand. But once again, you know, just close the door, go to your room and cry out. You know, the Bible says to come to Him like little babies. And it's that easy. Yes.
And we also have prayer lines, Yvonne, that people can call you. Perhaps you're saying, well, I'm just not sure how to pray. I'm not sure what I can do next. So you can call our toll-free prayer line that's 1-866-273-4444, 24/7. That's available. Well, Yvonne, I appreciate you sharing your story. As brief as the time we've only had here to share it, but it's powerful. I know it's touching people's lives right now.
Thank you.
And the CD is available on your website.
It is.
Which is
YvonneSaintGermain.com.